Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to another No Dunks Emergency Podcast. It's Wednesday night, February 5th, 2025, and this NBA trade deadline just keeps delivering. I'm J.E. Skeets here in the yard, and alongside me, thanks to the power of technology, it's Tass Mellis.
Yes, the Butler did it. We are doing it. Let's talk about it.
Also here, he had to leave the Spurs-Hawks game early. It's Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey, yo. Wow. And we, of course, have super producer JD in the background making this magic happen. Hello to everybody joining us live on YouTube. We love to see it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Podcast listeners, catching this a little bit later. 5-star ratings and reviews. All right. We've been turning to this gentleman in the cowboy hat many times the past week. Southern gentleman. Southern lawyer.
We got ourselves a trade.
Oh, less horse on that one.
Minor horse. It's a little horse. It's a pony kind of a trade. I'm excited though, Skeets. Had to leave the Fox debut alongside Wemby. But when Jimmy Butler finally gets traded after weeks and weeks of wanting it to happen, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than in the yard with the boys.
It's amazing. Yeah, the No Dunks bat signal goes up. You can see it from inside the arena. Let's talk about it. Big breaking news tonight here. Hours, before we get to the trade deadline on Thursday. After weeks of rumors, the Golden State Warriors have acquired 6-time All-Star Jimmy Butler in a massive multi-team trade. Is it 4 teams? Is it 5 teams? We're still figuring it out. But the Heat are involved, the Jazz are involved, and the Pistons are involved for now. As part of this deal, the Heat receive Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker. He's coming by way of the Jazz. Do you remember that? And a protected 2025 first-round pick from the Warriors. That one obviously can kick over to the next year because it's protected, but we'll get into that maybe. Kyle Anderson, he is maybe on the Miami Heat. He was acquired by the Raptors until they didn't want him, so right now he's on the Heat. The Pistons will get Lindy Waters III and Josh Richardson, and the Jazz will add Dennis Schroeder. So lots of moving parts here still, Mellis. Like I said, we're honestly figuring out the Kyle Anderson equation, but Jimmy Butler going to the Golden State Warriors, as many of us predicted way back when the Jimmy Butler Miami Heat sort of madness kicked off, and then it died down. And then some of us said, no, it's still a possibility. And that's where he lands. Your takeaways here on a Wednesday night.
Well, I'm excited for the Golden State Warriors and how they're evolving around Steph Curry's career. Just the fact that he's got this year and 2 more to end his career, what he's going to be 37, 38, 39. It's going to line up exactly with Draymond Green and now Jimmy Butler, who has agreed to sign an extension.
Right.
According to Brian Windhorst, he said that player option next year, don't need it. I'll just sign for 2 years and 121 per. Or excuse me, 121.
Oh,
not per, around 60 per, which is still a very close number to Steph Curry in each of those 2 years. But those 3 guys going forward, excited about that. One of the best players we've watched gets to end his career with this attempt. That being said, I don't think this team is a championship team right now. I think they still have to make another move for sure. I think they're too small. Just think about their closing lineup. It's going to be Curry, Kuminga, Butler on the wings, and Draymond Green for sure. Those 4 guys. And then the guard beside Curry will either be Gary Payton II or Brandon Podziemski potentially, or Buddy Hield. I think that those teams can get abused. I think they can be scored on. And then you've got question for experience with a couple of those guys. Jonathan Kuminga hasn't done this in a postseason like this where he has been depended on. And whoever the other guard is. I mean, we're talking about Payton II, who can help, obviously, Podziemski, but they have to come out and really be depended on, I think. So I think this team is just a little bit short, and I think offensively, in general, they're short. I mean, this team was 19th on offense. They took the 3rd most threes in the NBA, and they're sort of middle of the pack 3-point percentage, but that's going to get worse with Andrew Wiggins gone. I think they are going to miss him, and they're going to miss him on both ends.
But they might gladly trade it for some free throw attempts.
Right.
Jimmy Butler actually does give them. I mean, that's the one thing that he brings to the table, right?
He does. He does do that. What kind of Jimmy are we going to see? He's not having an incredible season. Are we going to see peak Jimmy? I like to think so, but I do think this team is a bit too small, and I do wonder about their offense for sure.
Well, they might not be done for all we know.
No.
Moves here because we still have the deadline Thursday, 3 p.m. TK, I mean, we knew the Warriors were desperate to acquire another star to pair with Steph, to pair with Draymond Green. Had been calling, it felt like every team to kick the tires on, hey, can we get Kevin Durant? Hey, can we get Paul George? Hell, even LeBron James. And here they go and get Jimmy Butler. He's a proven playoff performer, but do you believe this is the right move from the Golden State Warriors? When you look at what they gave up, too, they didn't give up Kuminga. They didn't give up, their super young, talented guys like that. What do you think?
They traded one rotation player and a pick that's going to be in the middle of the first round for Jimmy Butler. My brain tells me modest upgrade, but my heart tells me this is going to be fire. Cannot wait to see it. Steph Curry gets somebody who's going to be helpful. Because, maybe the Warriors will continue to be bad on offense. They were already bad on offense, but like you said, Skeets, Jimmy Butler gives them free throws. He gives them layups. He can take the point of attack defensive position, similar to how Wiggins did, and he gives them a little bit of toot, somebody they can give the ball to score. Mm-hmm. So Curry doesn't have to do every single thing offensively. He said it's 82 one-act plays. Jimmy Butler is a drama king. He can take over some of those plays. Am I right? I don't know if it's going to work out. It feels like this has potential for great success. If everything breaks perfectly, Jimmy gives it his all, gets to the playoff Jimmy level. It also feels like this could go terribly bad if him and Draymond beef during any point of Jimmy's next 3 years here with the Warriors. That feels like a combustible locker room, something that we heard reporting about even before the trade went down. They were worried about bringing Jimmy Butler into this locker room. But more than anything, I think it's cool. This feels like the Warriors have a better chance with Jimmy Butler because they didn't have a chance with Andrew Wiggins. Is their chance good? I don't know. But if you're Steph Curry, you probably feel like you have a better chance right now. And if you're a Warriors fan, you're happy they finally did something, put somebody alongside Steph Curry to try and win one more before he's gone.
Absolutely.
And it didn't include John Tass, which we thought maybe would have to be a part of the equation here. And he doesn't in the end. It's Wiggins as the key piece, the big money piece. And then Anderson and Schroeder and this one pick, which is protected too, to sort of cover their ass a little bit.
Yes, it's going to be protected through 10, both this year and next year. So, it's probably going to be in the teens. Mm-hmm. I do say it does seem like it's a good move, like both on paper and just emotionally. Yeah, they're doing this for Steph.
Yeah, they needed an injection into this team. I mean, you'd seen them play. You heard what they said after every game. They were pretty flat, and we're like, we need some life here. And like Trey said, there isn't at least an attitude comes with Jimmy. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to find out.
I do like even going through the stats to see that the Warriors assist on 70% of their buckets. That's second in the league. And when you think about that, I think of the Miami Heat going to the finals and how they keep that wheel going, keep the cycle going with everybody moving under Eric Spoelstra's offense. And you could see the same thing happen with the Golden State Warriors offense. Just everybody flying around. The big men, when they get the ball, out on the elbow area, we're at the classic Warriors stuff. So they will be moving. I do worry, though, again, like I know it's Andrew Wiggins and nobody really, it doesn't really resonate with people, but I do think the size there matters. Again, like your forwards, besides Draymond, when you're ending a game, are Kuminga and Jimmy. I do think the size is.
Jimmy plays bigger than Wiggins does. He plays like a bigger guy. He rebounds better. He's a tougher player. Maybe Wiggins is a little bit taller, but Jimmy's girthier. I don't know. I don't think that the team was already bad offensively. They're swapping out basically Jimmy Butler for Andrew Wiggins. I'll take that trade.
I wouldn't trust Jimmy to guard a perimeter guy. I know he's typically a good perimeter defender, but I think he can get abused. I mean, he's not young, and I think that's the main thing you could count on with Andrew Wiggins is just throwing him out there. And I do think I know this is a deep cut, but the injury to DeAnthony Melton hurts this team in just the perimeter defense and just stopping the ball up top. I do wonder, just besides Jimmy, I mean, who is going to play beside Curry? It's going to be Gary Payton II. But anyway, the depth is a bit of a question just right here, right now. I mean, their guards are Curry, Payton, Podziemski, and Hield, and Butler, Kuminga on the wings. And then you're going to have to see a lot of Looney and Trace Jackson-Davis. So there's questions there. Yeah,
they only have, I believe, like 11 players on the roster. So they're going to be set up here to be active, I assume, at the bio market, or a big player in the bio market. Hollinger noted that, it's not possible, or excuse me, it is possible that they're not done. Could they still move Looney or Gary Payton II, especially to get below the luxury tax line? I guess that's in play here. But man, Law Murray had a crazy stat about those free throws. Jimmy Butler has attempted 10 plus free throws in a game 7 times this season, and he's missed a lot of games. All Warriors players have attempted 10 plus free throws in a game 9 times combined this season. A lot of them, Kuminga, Curry got there once, and then Wiggins a handful of times too. So that again, that's the one thing, the pressure on the rim, getting to the line that Jimmy brings. That is different than a lot of guys on that roster right now. What else? Any of these other teams you want to touch on? Like, what about the Heat, TK? They had to play this hand. Like, they were forced to do this. Like, Jimmy Butler's like, I don't want to be here. And obviously they butted heads for a while here, and it was just a matter of time of where he gets rerouted. You think they did okay in this? What's your take?
I think this is a good recovery by the Heat. Jimmy forced their hand as much as he could, and he didn't ultimately get his way, though things are going to work out okay. He's making $120 million. The Heat are getting back Andrew Wiggins. This is basically a one-for-one trade. There's other pieces involved, but when you look at it, it's going to be Wiggins and Butler that are the key pieces. Wiggins will fit in nice alongside the Heat. He'll do what he did with the Warriors. He won't cause problems like Jimmy did, and I think that's the biggest win for them, is that they have clarity on their season and what their team looks like going forward, rather than this hanging over their heads like it has been, like you hear the players talking about in press conferences. Clearly it was affecting him when he came back for those 3 games and then went out once again. Now they know what they're doing. They also recouped the draft pick that they're probably going to lose to OKC. They owe theirs protected in the middle of the round, and right now they're due to lose it. They're going to be in basically the same spot of where the Warriors pick is coming. So they're kind of back to square one, and they got younger by getting Andrew Wiggins compared to Jimmy Butler. Clearly they didn't want to pay Butler going forward. They've got Wiggins on the books now. I think this is a solid recovery for Miami. And look, Andrew Wiggins, maybe he takes to being a Heat culture guy and sees a real career rebirth. It looked like it was happening in 2022. He kind of plateaued there. Maybe he can find another level down in Miami.
Tass, how do you feel the Heat did here? Again, when their hands were a little bit tied.
The bickering will stop, and that's a big win. And just the fact the cloud hanging over their arena, you could see it, and everybody. Tyler Hero is taking this leader type role, and then all of a sudden he gets hit with this bombardment of media for months. I mean, it's been a long time that they've been having to deal with this. So that is a win, period. And the fact that they get a rotation player in Andrew Wiggins, who I can see closing with Hero and Adebayo. I can see this team wanting to fight for Eric Spoelstra constantly, every single possession. So I'm excited to see what this team is able to do. Just depth-wise, they've got a lot of scrappy dudes. So I think this is a win for sure. I couldn't stop laughing as we were starting to record. I watched this clip of somebody behind the Heat's bench as they're playing right now, telling the Miami Heat, hey, we traded Jimmy Butler for Kyle Anderson, Dennis Schroeder, and Andrew Wiggins. You can hear Kevin Love say, draft capital, a first-round pick. And Kevin Love asked for something else. He wanted more information. So I don't know if Kevin Love really feels like Wiggins, Schroeder, and Anderson is enough because he wanted more than that. I mean, he wanted more for Jimmy, and that's kind of understandable with how good Jimmy has been for this Miami Heat team. But with everything that he's done these last couple months, in comparison to a trade that we just saw between Dallas and the Lakers that was totally under the radar, nobody heard about it. They did pretty well.
I know I don't usually do this, and it really feels like radio, but if you are just joining us, Jimmy Butler headed to the Warriors in a massive multi-team deal. As part of it, the Heat get Andrew Wiggins. PJ Tucker comes over, that protected 2025 first-round pick by way of the Warriors. Kyle Anderson, I still believe, is there. There's a lot of jokes going around about Kyle Anderson. He's just at the San Francisco airport right now, just waiting to be told which plane to get on. Am I flying to South Beach? I guess I'm not going to Toronto. I don't need my passport. Where the hell am I going? So there's that. We also have other teams involved. The Pistons get Lindy Waters III. They get Josh Richardson by way of the Heat, and the Jazz add Dennis Schroeder. If you're new here, hit the like button and subscribe. You knew things were going down tonight when we had a lot of reports that, Golden State, they've closed the locker room during open media time. Steve Kerr addressing the team. Players that were out on the floor, get back in here. You guys might be getting moved. And then, like you said, this video of the Heat players being actually told of what's going on here. There might be more to come as well. Brandon Ingram, he might be traded tonight. I don't know if this Ben Simmons report here in the stream team is real or not. I can't keep track anymore, but there's a lot going on, TK. Everything is happening right now.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball signed an extension, still apparently trade eligible.
Sure.
It doesn't feel like we're done for the night. Apparently, this Spurs-Hawks game turned into an absolute classic down at the Highlight Factory. What can you do? We're talking Jimmy Butler. The team I'm most thinking about, though, outside of the Warriors and the Heat, is the Phoenix Suns. What's going to happen with the Suns now? Because we know they were shopping Bradley Beal. Clearly no takers. He had the no trade clause as well. So the Jimmy Butler deal didn't go down with Miami and Phoenix. Then it pivoted to being, wait a second, is Kevin Durant going to maybe end up in Golden State? Or is Kevin Durant going to maybe end up in Miami? Neither. So is Kevin Durant sticking around in Phoenix? Is he going to be happy sticking around in Phoenix after he's been a trade rumor for the past week? That feels like still a combustible situation, but they didn't even make a move. They didn't make an upgrade yet. It feels like KD might be stuck there. We know Beal is choosing to be stuck there. I think they're kind of a loser in this trade, even though they're not involved in it.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, this deadline is not disappointed, but it hasn't been great for the Phoenix Suns right now. But we've had Luka to the Lakers, AD to the Mavs, Fox to the Spurs, Levine to the Kings, Jimmy to the Warriors now, Wiggins to the Heat, a part of that. I guess if you want to throw in Kuzma to the Bucks and Middleton to the Zards, you can do that, Tass. This has been one of the more exciting weeks, at least, of NBA trade deadlines for us doing this now almost 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. And you can actually, get the old trade machines going. When you see a teeny tiny trade happen, like PJ Tucker was dealt from the Los Angeles Clippers to the Utah Jazz, that was in preparation for this.
Yeah.
It's happened to us before. Earlier in the trade sequence when what was the first one, Trey, that we saw was the little side deal for the draft picks?
This week was wasn't it PJ Tucker and Drew Eubanks?
Yeah,
the first trade of the week. And then obviously we had the Phoenix Suns trading their one pick for 3 picks and so far not using any of those picks.
Yeah.
That was a ridiculous move if you didn't have something lined up.
Yes. Yeah. And this is going way back when we first heard Dennis Schroeder was traded in early December. But Mike Dunleavy of the Golden State Warriors did a little teeny tiny thing. He took advantage of a new loop in the CBA to allow players who were traded on or before December the 16th to be aggregated again. So added to a trade before the trade deadline. So a new little quirk in the CBA. Mike Dunleavy making it happen. Again, this is good for the Golden State Warriors. Who cares if they don't win? At least they're freaking trying. As Steph Curry, and the sunset is happening for Steph. He's freaking old. He's turning 37. He's going to be 38 and 39 in the final 2 playoffs of his career, most likely. These next 3 years, he's going to be doing it with Draymond and Jimmy. I just think you go down fighting, whether or not you're able to knock anybody out like your Logan Paul or the other Paul or whoever knocks out people. Like, that is awesome.
The worry of go down fighting is Draymond Green fighting Jimmy Butler or vice versa. Literally go down fighting. The two guys just brawling each other. Which,
I'd rather watch that than the Pauls, whatever they're doing.
So Jimmy Butler's departure here from Miami, it does end a very successful stretch in Heat history, despite not winning a championship. I mean, I do want to go over this. They acquired this guy by way of a sign and trade with the 76ers in 2019, when I believe Jimmy was 30. Sort of funny to think about. That's Wiggins' age right now as he goes to the Miami Heat. Not saying Wiggins is Jimmy Butler's level, but pretty funny note there. Good, again, successful seasons with Miami, led them to 2 NBA Finals appearances. They had one of the better winning percentages while Jimmy was there, 2 All-Star teams, 3 All-NBA selections. Playoff Jimmy became a thing, became a legend. And, he like helped define until it completely fell apart, Heat culture. Until he gave a big middle finger to Heat culture and wanted out.
That was the beginning of the end, Skeets.
I know.
When The Athletic had that article that said Bam Adebayo is the face of Heat culture,
Yep.
I was like, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound like Jimmy Butler's the man. And we know he loves to be the man. That guy seemed like the perfect Heat culture player when he went there, and he was until he wasn't. And then he was the exact opposite. Like Jimmy Butler, maybe he was going to get his jersey retired by the Miami Heat. No chance of that happening now.
Yeah. And to sort of spin this into him now on the Warriors, because you guys we're debating how it'll work with Draymond, how he'll fit in with Steve Kerr in this team. I feel a lot more comfortable if I'm a Warriors fan tonight, knowing he signed this extension. Honestly, if that was still up in the air, I'd be like, this could really go poorly, because that's where the reports were. And that's why we started this whole Miami Heat drama. It was long-term plans, major hang-up were the contract situation. And now he signed that. I feel a little bit better that you're going to get sort of Jimmy on his best behavior, I guess, because he got paid and he's on the same timeline as Curry and Draymond. And they have things to do still, as we've gone over. They're not done, and they're not a championship contender with those 3 guys and some other things there. But, better than they were, I think, yesterday. Or at least if they get it. This is the ironic part. It feels like Wiggins, at his point of his career, is a better player to get you to the postseason than maybe Jimmy. But Jimmy, I want all the time once I get into the postseason as a 16-game player.
I don't know if I can agree with that. The Warriors didn't make the postseason last year, and they're not on track this year.
Fair. I mean, in Wiggins' defense, he had a pretty crazy personal situation last year that took him away from the team.
I will agree. I'll just say that we know what that Wiggins version of the Warriors is, and they're a team that's 8 through 11 in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
That's what they've proven to be over the course of the past 2 seasons. Maybe they've raised their ceiling here, getting Jimmy Butler. Things would have to break perfectly for them, matchup wise. Maybe they get some injury luck in the playoffs. That's how they would make a run. But it seemed like they had stalled out with the Wiggins version, so they had to change something up. And once they saw what the Lakers did, getting Luka Doncic, it's okay, we got to give our guy a little bit of something here at the end of his career. And now we know what the end of Steph Curry's career is going to be. It's going to be him, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler through 2027. They've got to give it their all to try and win one more in those next 2.5 seasons.
Tass, you're smiling a lot. You're either seeing breaking news or you read a funny comment in the stream team. I don't know. I can't tell with you.
Neither, unfortunately. But I'm seeing cool things. I'm seeing cool things on the internet.
Raw
Number one.
things?
Number two. Number two, I'm just smiling at my thought of what I'm going to say as soon as Trey's done talking. I was going to say they were ruined when DeAnthony Melton got hurt this season.
Oh my God. I mean, come on, man. Come
on. Things would have been
Tass, I can't tell if you're doing a bit anymore with
No,
this.
it's not a bit, but they were far better with DeAnthony Melton as a defensive guard playing beside him who could hit three-point shots and handle the ball a bit. They just need now if he was there with Jimmy Butler, we would be talking about a very good team in the Western Conference. That would be an outside contender. I mean, that would be peak Warriors. They need one other guy who can friggin' defend and handle the ball and
they still needed all that. They still needed all that before the Wiggins Butler trade. All those guys are still there. All of the guys that are on the bench are still there.
Well, Anthony Melton got hurt.
Yeah, I know that. I know, but they've needed those upgrades regardless.
They were a top.
Now they upgraded the Wiggins spot.
They were a top 4 offense the first month of the season.
They started hot
with DD, with D Melton. They just had the right guys and the right chemistry. And they were a totally different team. They're a far better team way back when. I'm just saying we didn't see it.
It was a hot start. Hot starts happen. The Chicago Bulls had a hot start. Lonzo Ball got hurt. They suck. Are you telling me it's all because of Lonzo? Is it all because of DeAnthony Melton? Or is it just a hot start before everybody catches up and scouts on you?
Well, you didn't see the whole season. You were talking about years ago with Lonzo Ball and the whole team.
That was a longer run.
Yeah, it was a longer run, yeah. And they were good.
DeAnthony Melton played 6 games this season, for those that want to know. They went 4-2. They went 4-2. And he did play well. And he is a good player, and I hear what you're saying. I just don't see him being
besides that,
a huge difference maker here when it comes to championship contending, which is the whole point of this, because you have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We just know in 2022, things went perfectly, and it wasn't all that dissimilar a team. They caught lightning in a bottle, and who knows? It could have happened in 24-25 again if they're all healthy. But now we're going to see Pat Spencer or Guy Santos get minutes. It's a very, very different team now. But 2.5 years to ask of Jimmy Butler to give it his all. It ain't all that much. It ain't that. I mean, he can do it. He can do it in
that's
small,
like literally almost
spurts.
the perfect amount of time for Jimmy Butler to come to your team and turn it around, and then you want to move on, as we've learned time after time after time after time now. This is his 5th team, is it not? Did I have that right?
And it seems like it always, for some reason, goes poorly when a team decides they're not going to pay him. But as soon as they pony up the money, things turn around.
He's good to go.
It's crazy how that works.
It is nuts. It's almost like it incentivizes him. It's very strange.
Yeah, 60.5 for these next 2 seasons, 121.
That's all he wanted.
It's Steph Curry money. Now, the weird part would be if Draymond opts out in that final year and says he's gone, because he signed through next year, but a player option that final one, just to really mess things up. One other thing I was smiling at was seeing that if Dennis Schroeder plays for the Utah Jazz, that would be his 10th NBA team. That's a lot of basketball teams.
Wow.
Double dig.
Jeez.
If he plays, because there could be a situation where they don't play him at all.
Super old. He could set the all-time record. It's in play. Come on, Dennis.
That's a good point. He is kind of young.
Yeah, like he's 31. He's 31. He could be a backup point guard for 5 or 6 years easily.
Does he have less appeal now than he did, though, when he was on the Brooklyn Nets? Like, Schroeder was hooping when he was on the Nets. I thought he was going to be a really good pickup for the Warriors. He didn't fit the system at all. He couldn't shoot. Now he's going to Utah, where, like you're saying, maybe he'll stick around, or maybe they ship him somewhere else. But I don't know. I was feeling optimistic about Schroeder heading to Golden State, and now he did help them get Jimmy Butler. So, they got what they wanted out of him. But are you getting excited if you take a chance on Schroeder at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, he could be the new Ish Smith for sure.
Yeah.
He played for 13 teams. Yeah, Schroeder could be. Yeah, just run a second unit. I thought that's what he was going to do for the Golden State Warriors, but yeah, it was weird with all the injuries that they had and him playing beside Steph. It didn't work out.
So Jimmy did tweet tonight after the news broke. He tweeted a country song to his social media channels with the caption, "Welcome to the Wild Wild West." Not Will Smith's song, a country song that I was not familiar with. So he seems, gun-ho, ready to go out west, and obviously got paid, like we said, and now joins a team that's got to get into playoff contention, let alone obviously start going through teams in the postseason, but they got some time here after the All-Star break. Incredible. Just an unbelievable deadline we've been given over the last little while. We will be back tomorrow morning in the Classic Factory at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you're new here, hit the like button, subscribe. And then at 2 p.m., we plan on doing another show, our trade deadline special, to take us through to the actual deadline time of 3 p.m. Eastern. So 10 and 2 tomorrow, Eastern time, here on No Dunk's YouTube page. Obviously, flip them into podcasts. NBA Daily will be going live all day. I don't know how many deals are left at this point, but it's not like you don't have a lot to talk about. Any final thoughts here, Tass, on Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, Wiggins to the Heat, and a bunch of other moving pieces?
I thought the potential for Bradley Beal being dealt involved that Ben Simmons rumor, I guess, that you mentioned earlier. Ben Simmons being a part of it. So I'm waiting. I am waiting for that. There could be multiple teams involved, like a team that could take on Ben Simmons' contract for the end of the season. I don't know. I mean, I'm just not counting anything out. That's all I'm saying.
Nor should you. I mean, Brandon Ingram feels like the most likely biggest name, I guess, to be traded before 3 p.m. tomorrow. Is it to the Raptors? Is it to the Atlanta Hawks? Moving one of their centers in Capella or Kongwu, and that's sort of the building blocks to that deal. That's sort of where we're at. But TK, your final thoughts on Wiggins going to the Butler? I mean, I'm tired. Butler going to the Warriors.
My thoughts on Andrew Wiggins hiring a new Butler. Look, I'm excited. I'm a Steph Curry fan. I'm definitely a Jimmy Butler fan. So I'm optimistic about this working out. I'm thinking about it more so in 2025 than 2027 when those guys are looking as gray as I am. That'll be scary hours for the Golden State Warriors. But at least an hour and a half after the trade, I feel like the Warriors have a little bit of momentum, whereas previously they were probably stagnating. Yeah. I think the Miami Heat did a good job to get any sort of value back from Jimmy Butler, let alone a guy who plays a similar position to him, much younger, and will cause a lot less drama. I think it could work out great for both the Heat and Andrew Wiggins. All the other salary stuff, let's see how it plays out. But honestly, I hope we're not done, because this is amazing how many all-stars already we've had traded in these deals for each other. ESPN, a hilarious graphic saying, whoa, check out this trade deadline. It's like 8 all-stars and also Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, he slipped in there.
Yeah, just hiding in the middle. Nonetheless, it has been an awesome start. And considering with the new CBA, nobody knew how this was going to go. A month ago, everybody said, slow deadline. Suddenly, this has to be the record for most all-stars traded during deadline week. I don't know what it is. Somebody will run the numbers, I'm sure. But wow, they've been flying in and out the country, east to west. Welcome to the wild, wild west, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. This is exciting times. The NBA is going to look completely different when we get back from the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's true. My final thoughts are, I'm so happy we sort of dug our heels in on Jimmy Butler eventually making his way to the Warriors. Again, right when all that drama started, it just made too much sense. It really did. That Steph Curry and Draymond, they had to be given a little injection here. And when you looked at the landscape of the NBA, it's like, okay, Jimmy, it's a hell of a gamble. Nobody disagrees with that. It's a lot of money for an old guy that, general soreness, as they used to call him. He missed games. But if you get him there, he's a dog, and I'm excited to see whether or not that works. The other part is, I love that we had whispers that this was happening tonight. My God, guys, I didn't even go to help coach basketball practice tonight. I was like, I can't. I know something's happening. Started working on the thumbnail for the show. I know something's happening. Then we see the Slack channel popping off. I think it's going down. Then we got the reports. Man, I love when it comes together, though, because very easily it could have been like a big wet fart and nothing happens. You know what I mean? So I'm pumped. I poured a scotch. I was pumped that it all came together. Trey Kirby at the game. Get home, TK. Get home. Beat traffic. So
traffic. Come on, man. MARTA is smarta.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
We love public transportation, don't we, folks?
Can't wait for
infrastructure. Infrastructure. It's important.
Can't wait for those new trains.
Yeah, oh my God, they're sexy.
Yeah.
Yes, end of 2025. I'll just be riding MARTA front to back just to ride it because they're beautiful. Onyeka Okongwu, speaking of the Atlanta Hawks, maybe he got himself traded tonight. 30 and 12 rebounds and 5 assists. What a night.
Oh, maybe he knows Capella's getting traded.
Yeah, maybe Capella's getting dealt. That would make a far more sense.
Maybe. All right, we'll call it there. Thanks to everybody for joining us live. Big people coming out for the breaking news. We love to see that. Hit the like button, subscribe to No Dunks. We do this daily, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back tomorrow. Who knows what happens overnight? And then again, we'll have the trade deadline special at 2. Awesome work, guys. Until then, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, we're going to be going live tomorrow multiple times, all day, all night. Okay, not all day. The Athletic NBA show, they're going all day.
Yeah,
they're going all day, which we are all jumping on. Each three of us will be jumping on separately. But otherwise, we're going to be talking for a long time.
We're going to be in the classic factory all day.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So buckle up. Stock up on energy. Embrace the night, people.